Welcome to the deep dive. We're stepping away from the usual Baker Street scene today.
We are indeed.
We're focusing on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the master of logic, Mr. Sherlock Holmes himself.
Right.
But he's not solving fictional crimes. He finds himself, well, smack in the middle of a real international conspiracy.
Yeah, it kicks off on this German steamship, the LB. We're talking actual murder, sabotage.
And missing holy books. Some of the world's most sacred texts are gone.
It's quite a shift for Doyle. Our sources, the narrative stack we have, they detail his arrival in America. He's supposed to be there for, like, the whole Sherlock mania thing.
Right, the celebrity tour.
Exactly. Apparently, he was just drowning in fan mail, 60 letters a day, just looking for a break, really.
And instead of a break, he gets this, a mission to track down these incredibly powerful ancient books.
That's what we're diving into. This stack we mentioned, it follows Doyle as he reluctantly tries to recover texts like the Kabbalistic Zohar, the Hindu Upanishads.
All stolen by this group called the Hanseatic League. Very secretive, very professional, it seems.
But we want to go beyond just the thriller plot. There's some real philosophical depth here.
Like what?
Well, the nature of hidden knowledge, the whole idea of free will, and this search for what the sources call the six messiahs.
Six messiahs needed to stop some kind of apocalypse.
An apocalypse driven by humans, yeah. That's the core idea we need to unpack.
Okay, so let's start where Doyle starts. New York City.
Right. He lands, and immediately it's chaos. Press everywhere. This one reporter, Ira Pincus from the New York Herald, he's relentless.
But the real curveball isn't the press, is it?
No, it's the arrival of Jack Sparks. This is the man who supposedly inspired Sherlock Holmes in the first place.
It's a real-life Holmes, and he just shows up?
Kind of. He's disguised initially as a father divine. And Doyle barely recognizes him. The sources say he looks broken, like he's been shattered and put back together wrong.
Wow. So what's Sparks doing there?
He tells Doyle he's hunting assassins who are after the Zohar.
The Kabbalistic texts.
Exactly. Attributed to Rabbi Moses de Leon way back in 13th century Spain. It's a foundational text.
And the threat isn't theoretical.
Not at all. On the ship, the Elba, they find the man protecting the Zohar, Rupert Selig. He's been murdered in his cabin.
And the description of Selig, it's chilling.
Pure ungodly terror on his face, the sources say. Contorted.
But Selig had a plan, didn't he? He wasn't just a victim.
No, he was clever. Doyle figures it out using his own skills. The heavy crates Selig guarded, it was a decoy.
Filled with blank paper?
Weighted perfectly, yes. Selig swapped the real Zohar out. He anticipated they'd come for it.
Smart. And they're these Hanseatic League agents.
That's right, the killers. This league is supposedly a continuation of that old medieval German merchants alliance. Powerful, shadowy.
And they have a calling card.
They do, a tattoo. Selig managed to scroll it on the wall before he died. It's an interrupted black circle with 3 jagged red lines inside.
Distinctive. And these agents are fanatical.
Utterly. Trained to kill themselves rather than be captured. Total commitment.
Okay, but why? Why go through all this trouble murder conspiracy for an old book? This feels like more than just theft.
It is. And this is where the story pivots, like you said, from a crime thriller to something deeper, more spiritual.
How so? What's the deal with these books?
Well, it ties into ancient fears, ancient legends. Doyle himself thinks about the Golem of Prague.
Rabbi Lowe, creating a defender from clay using secrets from a mystical text.
Exactly. But our sources push it further. It's not just about magic formulas in the book.
So what is it then?
The core Kabbalistic idea, according to this material, is that a truly great holy book isn't just about God or rules from God. It is God.
Wait, the book itself is the divine body of God?
In essence, yes. That's the belief described, the divine body of God.
Okay, wow, that completely reframes everything. This isn't a hunt for information. It's like a fight over God's literal presence on earth.
Precisely. Suddenly, stealing or destroying these texts becomes an act with, well, cosmic implications.
And presumably, possessing them is dangerous too.
Extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
The power, the knowledge within, it could rip them apart like a hurricane, is how the source puts it. Unless the person holding it has immense spiritual purity or strength.
Which these Hanseatic League agents probably don't have.
Unlikely. Suggests their motive isn't enlightenment, it's probably destruction, or maybe dominance.
This leads us to the dream, doesn't it? The thing that connects the main player.
Yes, exactly. This shared prophetic dream, it started about 3 months before all this kicked off. It brought together the key people fighting against the League.
Who are the dreamers?
Initially, there are 4. Jack Sparks, obviously. And then there's Presto, who's actually the Maharaja of Berar, looking for the lost Hindu Upanishads.
Okay.
Then Lionel Stern, who has to step up and protect the Zohar after his father, Rupert Selig, is murdered.
Ah, Selig was his father. Okay.
Yes. And finally, maybe the most crucial is Walks Alone. Walks Alone, or Mary Williams, is a Lakota woman. She brings a completely different spiritual perspective to this whole largely Western setup.
And what do they all see in this dream? What's the vision?
It's pretty ominous stuff. A huge black tower rising out of a dead desert, tunnels running under the earth.
Creepy.
Yeah. And six figures joining hands like they're trying to stop something. And then there's the Black Crow Man.
The main villain.
Seems like it. Riding a wheel of fire. Walks Alone immediately recognizes the imagery. She connects it to the Christian apocalypse, actually.
Interesting connection. And Walks Alone's insights are important, especially for Jack Sparks.
Very important. She looks at Jack, sees his deep depression, his nihilism, and she doesn't just see psychological trauma.
What does she see?
She calls it a sickness of the spirit, and she warns it's about to become physical, to manifest in his body.
And she has a way to heal him.
A traditional Lakota method, but one the source's stress is incredibly dangerous for the healer.
How does it work?
She basically has to invite the sickness, the spiritual sickness, out of Jack and into her own body.
Whoa.
Yeah. And there's a specific danger mentioned. Being consumed by a Wendigo, a kind of demon or evil spirit associated with that sickness.
So she's risking spiritual destruction to save Jack. That's quite something.
It's a profound act.
Yeah.
And it has major consequences later on. But first, the villain, the Black Crow Man.
Who is he really?
This is the big twist, especially for Jack. The Black Crow Man is Alexander Sparks.
Sparks. Any relation?
He's Jack's brother. His evil brother, long thought dead.
Dead. How?
Everyone, Jack included, thought Alexander died years ago at Reichenbach Falls. You know, the famous confrontation.
The Sherlock Holmes story location, so it was real for them.
Apparently so. But Alexander survived. And now he's back, operating under the name Reverend A Glorious Day.
A reverend. Okay, so what's his endgame? What drives him to steal holy books and ride fiery wheels in dreams?
His motive is, well, it's the philosophical heart of this whole conflict. It started, the sources say, after he attended the Parliament of Religions in Chicago back in 1893.
What did he take from that?
He synthesized a bunch of different ideas and came up with something truly radical. He believes God gave humanity free will for one specific reason.
Which is?
So that humans could eventually evolve into gods themselves by defying God.
Defying God as the path to godhood. That's bold.
Extremely. He sees himself as the real Messiah, but his job isn't to save or restore. It's to liberate humanity by completely destroying God's influence, by burning his body, the holy books.
But wait, if his goal is about intellectual defiance, this evolution through challenging God, why does he use psychic powers to control his followers? The sources mention his congregation. The white shirts are kept docile by his power.
Ah, that's the contradiction, isn't it? He talks about liberation through defiance, but he practices domination. It seems Alexander believes humanity isn't ready. They can't just choose defiance yet. He needs to use his power, this psychic force, to subdue them first, to control them almost like a drug, to prepare them for his version of liberation.
So it's liberation through tyranny. He's a destroyer pretending to be a savior.
Exactly. He sees his psychic power as the necessary tool, maybe even an evolved tool, to force humanity onto his path. He's intellectually justifying his own desire for control.
Which brings us to the climax. His base of operations, the new city.
Right. This cult settlement out in the Arizona desert. It's built around this huge black stone cathedral, and it has this central tower.
Modeled after the Chicago Water Tower, right?
Right.
Which connects back to the dream imagery.
Yes, apparently Jacob Stern, Lionel's father, the original protector of the Zohar who was murdered, had drawn that same tower years ago. Another link in the prophecy.
And inside this cathedral, Alexander plans his holy work.
Yes, there's a special chamber built beneath the floor designed to amplify his psychic power.
And the plan is to
Burn the books. All of them. The Zohar, the Upanishads, the Shinto Kojiki, which is also missing, even a Vulgate Bible. He wants to literally burn the body of God out of existence.
just erase the divine from the world.
That's the goal. Pure destruction disguised as liberation.
But the dreamers aren't alone. They get help, right? Some unexpected allies turn up in the desert.
They do. Two very important figures. First, there's Kanazuchi, nicknamed the Hammer.
Who is he?
He's a Japanese Shinto priest, but also a master swordsman. He's there searching for the lost Kojiki, the sacred Shinto text Alexander also has.
And he sees the new city for what it is.
Immediately, he describes it as a clock wound up, running down. He senses it's primed for some final, terrible event.
And the second ally.
Buckskin Frank McQuethy, an infamous figure, a tracker, a known killer but with his own code of honor, just released from prison.
An outlaw helping save the world.
Kind of. He was actually tracking Kanazuchi initially, maybe hired by the League. But when he gets near the new city, he feels the sheer wrongness of the place and decides Kanazuchi is the lesser evil. He switches sides.
So this unlikely pair teams up.
Yes. And they figure something crucial out. They see Gatling guns positioned around the cathedral.
Defense.
No. They're aimed inward.
Inward, towards the congregation.
Exactly. The plan wasn't just to burn the books. It was to massacre all of Alexander's followers, the white shirts, during the ritual. Maximum chaos and psychic energy release, perhaps.
Horrifying. So Frank and Kanazuchi try to stop it.
They start a fight, create chaos, try to disrupt the massacre plan, and give the followers a chance to escape. It's a desperate move.
But the main confrontation, the core battle, happens underground.
Right, in that amplification chamber. Jack finally faces Alexander, brother against brother.
And this is where Walks Alone's healing comes into play?
Absolutely. Remember, she invited Jack's spiritual sickness, his fear and nihilism, into herself. Because of that, Jack is now described as neutral. He's empty of that specific spiritual vulnerability. Alexander tries to use his power on Jack, but it doesn't work.
Why not?
Because Alexander's power feeds on fear, on negative emotion. And according to the source, there's no fear in the man left for Alexander to grab onto. Jack is spiritually clean in that moment.
And when his power fails.
Alexander has a massive seizure, a grand malseizure. It reveals his psychic ability was somehow linked to, or maybe exacerbated by, his epilepsy. The failure triggers a physical collapse.
And Jack's reaction.
Seeing his brother helpless, broken, not as a monster, but just pitiable, Jack finds it in himself to forgive him, truly forgive him.
Just as the others arrive.
Yes, the other dreamers, including Jacob Stern, who turns out to be alive, get there just in time. They manage to save the sacred text from the burning pit as the chamber starts to collapse.
And Alexander.
He dies there, in Jack's arms, finally free, perhaps, from his own terrible ambition.
So looking back at this whole wild journey, starting with Doyle and Sherlock mania, ending in this mystical showdown, what's the takeaway?
Well, the narrative does this fascinating thing, weaving together Doyle's logic, Edison's science, which gets mentioned too, with these deep spiritual traditions, Kabbalah, Shinto, Lakota medicine ways.
It suggests they aren't necessarily opposed.
Or rather that the real conflict isn't between logic and spirit, but about how knowledge, any knowledge is used, its application.
Alexander used it for domination, destruction.
Right. He wanted to force his idea of evolution. But the dreamers, the protagonists, they were working towards something else. The sources use the Hebrew word tikkun,
Which means?
healing, repair, mending the brokenness in the world, or the cosmos. They understood that the person wielding the knowledge, the vessel, has to be pure. Otherwise, the power just corrupts and destroys.
So tikkun, healing, was the goal. Now, the dream specified 6 figures were needed, right, to stop the Black Crow Man.
Yes, 6 figures joining hands in the vision.
And we can identify the key players in the end. Jack, Presto, Walks Alone, Lionel Stern.
Kanazuchi, the Shinto priest.
And Jacob Stern, Lionel's father, who drew the tower and was there at the end. That's 6.
It is 6. But here's the interesting wrinkle the sources leave us with. If you go back to the initial prophecy, the dream itself,
Yes.
the ones who actually received the dream, who were explicitly called by the vision, were only 4. Jack, Presto, Walks Alone, and Lionel Stern. Correction. Jacob Stern's drawing linked him, so perhaps Jacob instead of Lionel initially, or both tied through family. The source is a bit ambiguous here, but let's stick to the core group who acted based on the dream itself. Let's say the core dreamers were Jack, Presto, Walks Alone, and perhaps Lionel representing the Zohar's lineage.
So Kanazuchi and Buckskin Frank, they were essential allies, but not part of that original prophetic calling.
Seems that way. They were drawn in by circumstance, by the ripples of Alexander's actions.
Okay, so that leaves us with a final question, doesn't it? A thought for you, the listener, to mull over based on everything we've discussed.
Right. If these 6 people fulfilled the role of the 6 messiahs needed to prevent this particular apocalypse, and only 4 were called by the original vision.
What did the other 2, Kanazuchi and Frank McQuethy, represent? Which missing pieces, which paths of knowledge or action did they row to complete that circle of tikkun, of repair?
Was it perhaps the path of ancient tradition and discipline, embodied by the Shinto priest Kanazuchi.
Or maybe the path of necessary, albeit reluctant, violence and pragmatism represented by the tracker, Buckskin Frank. What completed the group needed for healing?
It's something to think about what combination of forces is truly needed to mend things when they break.
Indeed. We'll leave you with that thought. Thank you for diving deep with us.